don't know if that's.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Will that
There we
actually
go.
show people that?
I hopefully. Okay, we don't have any viewers yet, so I don't know if we're.
Is this different than how we do this?
It is, yeah. But it should all be the same. Let me make sure that this is working. Yeah, great. Cool. No viewers yet, so we'll just hang out. There we go, 2 viewers.
Yeah.
Hello.
How are we doing, gang?
Sorry for the very delayed notification about this, because we just finished recording literally 2 seconds ago with these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pull up the
And it was
questions.
a real toe tapper.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man. I also apologize for the way that my hair is right now and my face and all of our faces. Hi guys. So yes, thank you for joining us and thank you for supporting us on Patreon. I'm gonna pull this down so it's not mostly ceiling. We don't need all that headroom. There we go. We're trying a different format of live streaming this month, so hopefully it will be as clear. Please let us know in the chat if you cannot hear us. Please just actually say something in the chat so we know that it's working. If one of you can, that would be great. Because yeah, this is a new format. We're doing like a Google Hangout thing. Sorry, my Google Sheets keeps crashing on my iPad. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves for those that maybe don't know?
I'm Andrew, Nowak, and Mark on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Charlie. Damien.
And do you want to say what you're doing on Thursday?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain what's going on?
Sure. So,
Why?
I mean, Thursday, I fly to the Great White North. I'm going to Montreal, Canada, to start a job at a company called MPC. You might not have heard of it, but they pretty much have gotten their hands on every major blockbuster of the last foreseeable time. So I'm going to be working for them, doing environments, CG environments for all the big blockbuster films. So
It's pretty dope.
very, very excited about that.
Yeah. Charlie is an amazing artist. You can see his work on the internet somewhere. Well, Pure,
Pure is going. So actually, Brigham and Julia, also from the Bright Sessions, Caleb and Dr. B.
Dr. B.
Yeah. They're both involved also in this project called Pure. They're both going to be acting in it. And I did kind of the upfront concept art and stuff, and we'll see if I come back for the to do the visual effects at the tail end of it. But yeah, that project's been announced, and you can keep up to that. That's Pure, Pure.
Brigham's been posting all
Brigham,
that.
Brigham's the big poster.
Yeah, and our official Twitter tweeted about it as well, so you can find it there. I don't know if the chat is working. I'm just gonna send a thing into it to see if it's working. Do you guys see that? Can you enter things in the chat? If you can't and want to add questions, you can just go to this post on Patreon, and I will make sure to be monitoring it. So if for some reason the chat's not working, again, this is a new format, but we do have questions that are finally up because this thing keeps crashing on my iPad. So you can just dive right in because there is a lot to be said about Damien and Mark. Let's see. There was a great first question. If you could choose to play a different character in the Bright Sessions than your current one, which character would that be? Gender bender options acceptable.
Wadsworth.
That was so immediate. Really?
Wadsworth. Oh, I'd be Wadsworth in a second. Are you kidding?
That's not too similar?
I mean,
I get it.
yes, but in a different power position.
That's true. Yeah. She's the other side of the same coin, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Wadsworth. How about you?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I would like to think Damien or Wadsworth would be fun, but I don't actually know if I would enjoy it or not.
Really?
I actually think maybe Dr. Bright would be enjoyable. Because I remember when I first started listening to the show when you first brought me on, those first few episodes with Julia, those were really fun listening to because she just seems so cool and collected, but not in a villainy way like Damien.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything.
No,
I'm going with Dr. Bright.
Dr. Bright? That's a good choice. I mean, lead of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure I've answered this question before.
I would not want to be you. Because it's so
Thanks.
no, because like she's so she's one of the ones that I feel most like bad for. I don't know.
Also, like I'm sure it takes like so much energy to be Sam, just in terms of how like her thoughts are always racing and like her
welcome to my
anxiety is
life,
always
guys.
I know.
so
I just
high.
realized that. I'm sorry.
I would not want to be Lauren. No, I get it. I do.
I wouldn't want to have to like figure out all of her stories and everything. Yeah, it's a lot.
No, it is. I specifically, you may have noticed her panic attacks decreasing as the show has gone on, and that's partly because she has gotten better and she's been doing better and is handling her anxiety more. But it's also because, God, I remember recording episode 7 with Julia, the episode where we find out what happened with Sam's parents, and just like, yeah, it was exhausting just to have a panic attack when it's like I'm very familiar with that, and yeah, it definitely was. If it had been with any other actress other than Julia, I think I would have had a really hard time. But she's such a calming presence.
Panic attacks are the worst.
They're the worst.
They suck.
They're absolutely terrible. Just like your body being like, we're dying, even though there's nothing wrong. It's so fun. So yeah, I see why you wouldn't want to play Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Who would I mean, there's like always gonna be a part of me that wants to play Damien. Yeah. He's like the one I have, I think, the most fun writing.
I gotta say, he's pretty fun to play.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah, the Damien Wadsworth episode that came out a week and a half ago was definitely so much fun to write. I love their dynamics so much.
That was one of my favorite episodes to record.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
not the 3-hour emotion fest we just did.
It's so exhausting.
No spoilers.
If you notice my at all puffy eyes, it was very emotionally stressing.
Yes. No, that was that was a fun episode to watch. I mean, just you and Alex watching you guys together is so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, so Charlie has consistently messed up the plot of the Bride Sessions by doing things and then being really great and me changing things. Because initially, like, Wadsworth and Damien didn't necessarily have a lot of interaction. And then there was that first conversation. I guess it's in the park. Or no, it's over the phone, and then later in the park, and I was like, oh no, I want to see so much more of these two people. Originally,
wasn't Damien just supposed to kind of not even be a super big deal?
Yeah.
Like.
No, he was not. Oh, good. Somebody commented on the post. Maybe we can. Oh, okay, great. We're getting stuff on the Patreon post.
Awesome.
Thank you. I'm. Okay, Papa, hi. Oh, can't see your comments. That's so weird. I'm really sorry. I'm going to figure this out at some point. It probably would be a waste of time for me to go troubleshooting right now. So please, if you have questions, comment on them on the Patreon post, either one, and I will see them here. Hi, Papa. Thank you for letting me know. And congratulations on being able to freeze in Canada all winter, Charlie.
I know, it's going to be so cool.
Cool. You got to get one of those goose down things, you know?
Goose down.
The big puffy coats with a little goose symbol. I'll send you a link.
Okay. Goose coat.
Yeah,
got it.
Goose coat. What was I saying? Oh, Damien and Wadsworth. Yeah, and initially, so actually this is something that I can talk about now that the season 3 finale has happened. And if you haven't heard it yet, turn away now because it's gonna get spoilery. But initially the confrontation between Caleb and Damien was gonna happen at the end of season 2. And initially Damien was not going to come out of that alive. But then I really, really liked working with Charlie and didn't want to kill him. And so he is alive.
I found my way to stay around.
Yeah, made himself useful. But yeah, that the Damien and Wadsworth stuff too. I mean, and Damien and Mark as well. Like you guys have phenomenal chemistry, and exploring that dynamic has been super, super fun.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun to do. Well, it's a relative term. Fun to perform.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's been very rewarding.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put them through a lot. It's true. And I think if I were gonna play another character, I'd want to play either Damien or Mark, because right now those are, I think, 2 of my favorite characters to write. So in my head, I play them in my apartment all the time. Oh, we have a shout out request.
A shout out
from Justin Nizrecki. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, but he can't be watching because he's going to be he's on a train right now with 80 volunteers in STEM outreach for middle schoolers.
Ooh.
So he wants a shout out to him from you in Damien's voice. His name's Justin Nizrecki.
Where is it?
Justin Nizrecki. Let me see this.
Sorry, it's very small.
Nizrecki.
Nizrecki.
We're gonna go with Nizrecki. I hope it's right.
You can just say anything in Damien's voice.
All right. Hey, Justin. How you doing, bud? I'm glad you're having fun on your trip.
Perfect. Great. I hope that's good. I hope you're having a good time. That sounds like an awesome thing to be doing.
Yeah, that really does sound awesome, man.
Yes. Okay. Thank you guys for continuing to. You were chatting in the live YouTube chat. I wonder.
Yeah, we can go to the YouTube page and see. Hopefully,
yeah.
see
Okay. I missed
Boom.
that before when I did
Solving
things, doing things. Thank you for staying with us as we. Aha! There you are. We found you. Great. Thank you guys so much. Great. What episode did we just finish? We just finished episode 48. Yes, that is all I will say about that.
And which episode just came out?
42 just came out. 43 is coming out on Wednesday. So
Okay.
48 will be coming out end of January.
Okay.
So yeah, you've got a little while to wait before that. But thank you guys for chatting in there and for saying your congrats to Charlie. We're all really excited.
I really appreciate it, guys. It's a big move.
And we're seeing this stuff on Patreon as well. So we're all good. We've got all the screens up, all the things. Thank you. All right, let's pick another question. Okay, this is sort of a related question. So congratulations. Does this mean Damien will also be away for the year, or will he be able to return for performances? So Charlie found out about this job fairly recently.
Yes.
Like he emailed me maybe a month ago saying that this was happening. And thankfully, it didn't change anything for the story at all. It pushed up my own writing deadlines in terms of we needed to get this recorded this week. So I needed to have it written this week. So episode 48 isn't actually even finished being written. I just wrote the Damien stuff first.
And then I will also be taking audio equipment to Montreal with me.
Yes.
So, you know.
Yeah,
maybe
it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed anything. I'll say that.
You'll have to stay tuned to find out.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. Here's a fun one. What do Damien and Mark think of Agent Green?
From early. He wants to be our, like, everyone's like dad figure. That's what we think.
That's what we, yeah.
That's what
we've been calling
Damien
him
at
dad.
least thinks of.
It's like the annoying dad.
This guy who just like wants to be like the good uncle.
Do you think Damien wants a dad figure in his life?
I
At this
think
point?
that he doesn't think that Agent Green is necessarily the person who he's most likely to have a connection with. I think we all kind of up this point are fairly ingrained in how Damien is longing for connection, but I'm not sure if Agent Green is the one that he's banking on
pining
for that.
Is it an image that's going to say give Agent Green a chance?
Oh yeah,
Sure.
give Agent Green #give Agent Green a hug 20K.
I'll give him a hug.
2K17. Yes.
Love it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think because I know Mark says something about Agent Green. He said to Joan, it's something about like that guy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to separate what Andrew thinks because I feel bad for Agent Green.
It's tough
I
because
do
he's
too.
super
Yeah.
nice, but also kind of like
Did you intend
not the
to?
most competent person in terms of like complex things going on.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I feel like he's me a little bit. Like I don't know, like, and if I'm like, come on, give him a chance, and like, did you intend to make him like a bad guy when you started with him?
Yeah.
I got news for you. He is a good guy.
No, I know. I when I first had cast, or when I first had come up with the character of Agent Green, I wanted him to be along the lines of like a Damien, where he's like we meet him in this antagonistic way, and then there's like more layers to him because the big bad of the whole show has always been Wadsworth, and she's a character. She was a character before Agent Green was a character, like my notes and stuff, and so I wanted him to sort of be like just basically like a pencil pushing bureaucrat and like a little bit dry and a little bit boring. And then I cast Ian. And like Ian is just, I mean, you guys, if you're watching the live stream last month, like he's just a ball of energy and like the nicest, most enthusiastic
Super
dude.
enthusiastic.
Yeah, that he just brought this like warmth to Agent Green that's really, really lovely. And so he ended up being less of a bad guy.
How did the pitch of playing a patient who had been in a coma for 2 years persuade you to join the show?
I would love to hear the answers to this question. I remember pitching it to you, and I pitched it to you very badly, if I remember correctly.
I don't think that at all. I mean, you described him as, I don't know, the thing I remember is that he's like kind of like life of the party guy and like always has a joke up his sleeve and like super optimistic guy. Like everybody loves him, find him some super charming. Those are kinds of all things I wish I were.
I think you're those things.
Well, thank you. But I just liked those. The coma thing, I didn't really. I mean,
yeah, it didn't really have. Well, because it's like you were in a coma, but you also were like mentally active.
Yeah,
because you were like back in time.
That, and like I just don't know what it would be like to relate to that.
Yeah, I think
I
think I sort of just said like this is just someone who's been trapped for a long time, and has had this relationship sort of off screen with my character, and
that, and then just his ability is super cool.
Yeah. But I don't think I pitched the role to you as big as it ended up being. I think it was like, oh, you're going to be in the finale, and then you'll be like a couple episodes in season 3.
Yeah.
And then
really.
as with Charlie, like I got you in the room, and I was like, fuck, I need to write so much more for this guy because they're really talented. I don't know if you guys knew this. I am just giddy over what we just recorded. They're worn out and tired and sad.
So
I am really
excited
because I just got to sit there and watch them perform, which is amazing.
That was we went a couple hours. That was
3
hours straight, pretty much. Well, we took a little bit.
We took a little bit of a chips and salsa break, but that was it. I like how everybody's making fun of Ian for forgetting stuff in the chat. Keep doing that, please.
Yes,
find him on Instagram and make fun of him for forgetting things.
Agent Green is the epitome of a
Schmuck.
schmuck.
He is.
Oh man, see?
Oh,
Poor
such a
Agent
schmuck.
Green.
Such a
I'm old now for Agent Green.
Okay, wait. So how does Mark feel about Agent Green though?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think he feels how everyone else is saying.
Just sort of like, that guy.
Yeah.
Definitely not good enough for his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. But who could possibly be good enough?
Exactly right.
I like how it's like flagging people's hashtags. Yes,
Yeah.
keep making fun of Ian in 2K17. Charlie, what's the funniest thing you've seen in the fan community about your character?
You know, the comments about my voice are always very amusing. And very, don't get me wrong, I freaking love it. But that's what makes me laugh the most when people are like, oh, Damien's voice. Wait,
My mom just texted me the link to the goose.
There you go.
So my mom just texted me the link to the goose code I was talking about. Thanks, Mom. We appreciate it. CanadaGoose.com.
Awesome. I got that. I'll write that. Hold on. I'll write that down.
I will.
It's in the ether.
It's in the text.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
your
just,
voice,
just
voice
the comments about the voice in terms of like, oh, it's so sexy. Like, thank you. I'm very flattered. That's kind of what
I know.
it was.
I know. All of and you've gotten a couple of those comments too, actually.
About my voice?
Yeah.
No.
I sent you one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over the summer, a tweet about it. Thanks, Lauren's mom. Yes, thank you, Mom. Yeah, no, we get some comments, and it's always funny because it's like I know you guys so well, but it's just like your voices are just your voices, but people love it, and that's great.
Well,
Because I do fairly significantly but my speaking voice now is not.
That's true.
Really close to Damien.
That's true. You do. It's more. Yeah.
Well, you know what's so funny is when you first casted me, and I was kind of like reading through the script and everything, just kind of like mumbling through it out loud. I was like, I just like the epitome of this character is he loves everything about himself. So like the way he indulges in his own voice when he's talking a lot of times was a lot of the initial inspiration behind like one going low, but also the like always flirting in how he says things. she's just like, oh, I'm always in control, and everything's
Is
this is all a
Damien's-
game to me. And
It's Damien's
Yeah.
favorite actors, Alec Baldwin and Will Arnett, with their gravelly voices.
talking like this contest.
yeah, he's
I love that
watching.
so much.
Me too.
Damien's sitting
Yeah.
in his apartment watching Glenn Ross just taking
Yes,
notes.
I love
That's
it.
what he's doing.
And it works too, but I mean that's been one of the things that's like that both with Andrew and with Alex, like just that tone of voice with Wadsworth and Mark, making it so flirtatious has made those
Yeah.
dynamics so interesting.
It works so well for a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love, and particularly because Wadsworth is the same way, where
Yeah.
it's like kind of like this honey laced in arsenic, and then just putting the two of you together. It's so good. I love it.
Always be closing.
Did we take tired and sad? Yes, we did say. Always be closing. Exactly. Oh my gosh, my phone is sliding out of the place. We're good. Okay, so let's go back into the questions that people sent. Okay, this could be an interesting question to ask Charlie. What do you think Damien thinks his relationship with Mark is like? I know in Safe House 2, we heard about Mark's perspective on it, and Damien said Mark would never turn him into the AM. What does he think? That was from Christina. Yeah. Number 7. Because we sort of just talked about this.
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, the biggest central component, I think, to Damien's character that we constantly come back to is his desire for connection.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that he connects so naturally, or at least feels that he connects so naturally to Mark, is the fact that Mark has felt his power,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it can like relate to that in a very literal way. And that makes Mark Damien's best hope for having a real human connection. Because I mean, you imagine having the power of everyone does everything you ever want. You never have any resemblance of genuine interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gone his entire life without any real genuine human interaction. So the desperation in chasing that feeling is really what I think he sees in that relationship with Mark.
So like the genuine hope.
The genuine hope that true connection is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great answer. I love that. All right, Andrew, for you. Another super fun, easy question. Is Mark self-aware that he has an alcohol problem, or is he in denial? That's from Abby. Thank you, Abby.
I mean, you could answer that too, though.
Yeah, but this is something that
Is he? Yeah. Okay.
It depends on where
I
we
think
are.
Yeah, I think he goes in and out. I mean, sometimes he's like, fuck, and sometimes he's like, "Ah, fine. Probably when he's drunk, he's like, no, fine, I'm fine. But I gotta tell you, I love that he has this problem. It's so terrible. But like when we had like our we had coffee a while back, and we just kind of had like a moment where we're like, we should just destroy him.
I know, particularly after.
It's very, very like evil of us, but it's I don't know.
Well, yeah, because you brought it up because yeah, we had these like I had like coffee with a bunch of people sort of in between season 3 and season 4 to just check in with everybody and see what they wanted for their characters and all that.
And not just to be maniacal, but just like genuinely like show how hurt someone can get and how badly they can hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's.
And it fits. Like it just fits with there's so many different problems in this story.
Yeah.
It's like, why not
just add this one in there?
So
yeah, and because when you brought that up to me, because Andrew was like, I think it'd be interesting. You know, we've sort of seen him like in season 3, we saw him drinking the scotch in the office, and then sort of talking about it at the safe house and stuff. It was like it'd be interesting if we explore that more. And I had already kind of had in my notes like, does Mark have a drinking problem? So it was one of those things that was so organically like both of us were seeing it.
Yeah,
you know.
And I just kept thinking about like in tweets and stuff like because I mean just being an idiot like, oh, Mark's gonna bring scotch, and then I was like, he's always joking about stuff and like that he's always putting up a wall with stuff, and like that alcoholism is something that happened with that too. So
yeah, and the idea of exploring like addiction on top of an atypical ability was something we wanted to do. But yeah, I think particularly because that initial pitch of Mark's character to you was like, he's the life of the party, he's charming, he's kind of like this Disney princess.
it's like how heartbreaking to
Well, not only that, but like I think I got towards the end of season 3 and I was like, oh God, Mark is so much more broken than I thought he was. And it was something that surprised me because he was hiding it so well, I think, from even me, because he was like putting it in this facade of like, I'm back and I finally have like my life together and I'm with my sister. And then it's like, no, like you've gone through so much trauma. Like,
I love how you're a third person in your characters now, as they're living in your apartment, which I'm sure they are. They're living
They
in your
are.
apartment with you. Yeah.
They never leave me alone.
That's awesome.
Stop these voices.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Okay, Lauren. Okay.
Here's an interesting question. Does Damien want revenge on Mark?
Damien wants that connection, but you know, it's an interesting thing to think about. If Damien was to ever reach a place where he was certain that he would never get that connection, what would he do? That's an interesting thing that I've never really thought about. He's always just been very consumed in pursuing that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does revenge mean kissing?
I mean, yeah, that's an excellent question. I don't think Damien knows the answer to that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he really knows.
Wait, the first one, or does revenge mean kissing?
Oh no, I don't think he knows the answer to either. Does he want to have revenge on Mark, or does revenge mean kissing in that context? I don't think he knows either.
Dude's a mess.
Dude's a mess.
Dude's a mess.
And has not had to confront this particular feeling in a long time.
Never.
Of like caring for another human. That, yeah, that's something that I've spent a lot of time. And I know people are curious about it. And like, I wish I could say like, oh, there's going to be a clear answer to like, how does Damien feel about Mark? There's not probably going to be that, because it is complex and he's complex. Hard Damon being a mess. Aren't we all? I mean, I just talked about fictional characters that I created in the third person, so we're all doing so well. It's actually a good transition into Sarah Crockle-Smith's question in the Patreon, which is, it's wonderful to see bi-representation in Mark's character. Love if you all touched on the choice to show that. I don't know that it was, so I was thinking actually earlier today about how at the season 3 wrap party season, you're gonna be mad if I call you out about this?
No, it's fine.
Well, no, but I think
It's more Agent Green of me.
I think it's very illustrative of like the intention in our LGBT representation, which is that it's like, it's never like the thing about the character, it's always just like an element of their personality or their being. And it was at the season 3 launch party, I want to say. So we'd recorded like maybe the first 4 or 5 episodes of season 3, and Andrew just comes up to me and he's like, wait, is Mark bisexual? Somebody just said he was and I didn't know. And I guess I like hadn't mentioned it to Andrew because it hadn't really been relevant at that point. And I was like, yeah, I thought I told you that, but I think that's, I was kind of pleased that was your reaction, because it didn't, if it had been something that wasn't clear in your performance, like where you were giving a performance of Mark that like that didn't read, I would have, made a point to tell you, but it's not like it's this huge defining point of his character. And I think that's how I approach that particular representation, and just all of the representation of like, these are people who have connections with people, and those connections are dictated by like the sort of possibilities of what those relationships could be. But Mark being bisexual doesn't necessarily, it changes the way that he relates to people. And it's like one of the reasons that Sam asks him if he has feelings for Damien, because it is a possibility. I mean, although that also is a possibility if you're straight. But it's definitely like a more sort of present concern for her, because she knows that it's possible for him to have fallen for like this very toxic person. But other than that, like it doesn't necessarily affect the way that I write any of the characters. I don't know if that answers your question, Sarah, but that was my thought of it, that when I first came up with Mark, I was like, oh, he's bisexual, and that was just the way that it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if either of you have any thoughts about this.
I felt like an idiot for one.
No, I kind of loved that. I mean,
but that's then also though, but I just appreciated it so much about the story too, that they are just people, and that's just what you said, that it's not about that. And it's
yeah, I really like how no one is defined by their sexuality on the show. I think that's something that it was a really smart thing to do.
Thanks.
Super smart. Like, sorry.
Yeah, because
No, please,
it's so
commenting, guys.
easy, especially this day and age, to kind of put that on a character and simplify their character to that. And I think in doing that, you run a much higher risk of kind of cheapening that in a way, if that makes sense. And I really like how you approach that.
There's more stories like that coming out, and there need to be more. So
Yeah.
that's why it's so awesome. Yeah.
And like I think for me, like, yeah, the point about like cheapening it, like it is like at the end of the day, a connection between two people is a connection between two people. And like certainly in writing Damien and Mark's dynamic, like the thing that was most forefront in my mind is Hannibal. Hannibal and Will Graham from the TV show Hannibal, because that is a really interesting relationship between two men that is not sexual, but is romantic, but one of them is straight. And it's like, I think that that's so interesting because at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really matter what Hannibal and Will Graham's sexualities are because they're important to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like the thing that I always try to do with characters is like, okay, what is sort of, where does this person fall on this other person's priority list? And like, what do they want from them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. Thank you guys for saying such nice things. That's really nice. I'm glad that all works for you. Because it is really fun to write. It's complicated relationships between people. Let's see if you guys want to take a look at these questions.
What does Damien do in his spare time? I love that.
I do love that question.
I mean,
I've thought
at
about
what
this
point
so
are we
much.
talking about here?
Oh God, man, all of it. I
All of
don't
it,
know.
yeah. Like let's say like before breaking Mark out of the AM.
I mean, I think he would just kind of go back and forth between isolation, and then in that isolation, drumming himself up internally to be like, oh, I want to go out and interact with people and have a positive connection. Again, even that initial kind of want was there all along. And then he goes out and starts, like, even as something as simple as going to get a coffee, the process of just being around and having his effect on people ruins it. And so he goes back into isolation, and he's caught in that eternal cycle of hating being alone, but hating the way he interacts with people.
Yeah.
I really hope he has a corkboard with pictures and diagrams and strings.
Seriously, listening to Elliott Smith. That might be the postmark time.
I want to know what, like, the Curb Your Enthusiasm version of Damien's life, like all the idiosyncratic, stupid stuff. Like, that's just because I want everything to be that. And, like,
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, so.
I know, because I think you're absolutely on the nose, which is like he just constantly standing between isolation and these failed interactions between people.
But he doesn't.
He's selling them on Etsy.
Yes, that's what I want.
Yes,
Yeah, I want it so badly.
I think he has. In terms of like random Curb Your Enthusiasm stuff, I feel like he has probably dabbled in like making stuff and like trying to like, because I think.
Yeah.
I know what Damien was up to when he was like a teenager, like before he was sort of turned like 20.
Oh yeah, what was he up to?
He was like partying a lot. Like I think Damien went through like a big phase when he was 18 where he was like meeting all these people and partying a lot and just like living his life.
Yeah.
And then had to overcorrect so much that he kind of retreated into isolation, and then that became the habit.
You know, I've been late to the party on this front, but I just got through season 1 of Jessica Jones. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes, yeah.
That came up a lot last time.
Like,
It did, yeah.
Oh, it did, really?
Yeah, because have I told you this before? That initially Damien like was Kilgrave, and then I watched Jessica Jones and was like, oh, this character exists.
Oh,
already.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you had never seen it.
I had never seen it, and then I started watching it, and I was like, oh my god, Damien is Kilgrave, and like.
And then so I just because we recorded episode 10. We recorded your first episode before I knew that Kilgrave was a thing, and then I watched Jessica Jones. I was writing the rest of season 2 and was like, God damn it, this is already been done, and I need to figure something out. And so I made him pathetic.
But it's like, here's why mind control is such an interesting superpower, because it's inherently villainous. Not because the nature of the power isn't that you just have something, it's that you're taking something away from everyone else.
Yeah. You're
taking away everyone else's free will. So it's just inherently villainous, and oh man, just a lot of fun to play and think in that space.
Yeah. Well, and then to also be like self-righteous about it. I mean, that's the thing I always say to people when people ask about Damien and people ask about you, where I'm like, Charlie does the thing you're supposed to do when you play a villain, which is that you treat him like the hero.
Oh yeah.
Like you treat Damien like he's the protagonist of the story.
Yeah. Anytime I've been recording, I've never been the villain. I've always been just, what do I want? How am I gonna get it?
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it's really compelling. I mean,
it's so interesting too, though, with the idea of mind control and the fact that if a character has mind control, they're going to be the most confident, obnoxious asshole that they
100%.
can be. Because it's just like, it's almost like a perfect metaphor for like entitlement. It's like you don't, like Damien, he doesn't know how to do basic things or like be a member of society because he's never had to.
Yeah.
And yet he thinks so great of himself. It's just, yeah, it's a great little metaphor for entitlement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, Jonathan. I'm so glad we've helped you through Late Night Papers. Good luck with that. Good luck at work. Like to imagine a 1950s Damien being the best door-to-door encyclopedia salesman ever.
Hi, would you like to buy the letter P?
Except he would not want to even do that.
You would like to buy the letter
like to,
P, give me all your money.
Just give me money right now. Oh no, I don't have an encyclopedia with me, but here, let me take your money anyway.
I'll owe you it.
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna check here if you guys want to look over that, and I'll check the Patreon thing.
Can you imagine like Damien trick-or-treating as a kid?
Oh my god.
It's like walking around like, give me it all.
Well, as like a little kid, it wouldn't have, because it only popped up around like 9 or 10. So as a really little kid, it probably would have been all right. Let me see if there's anything in here that I'm missing. I don't think so. Which is good. All right, let's see. If you guys have questions in the chat, please. It's also interesting for Damien because he's also controlled by the mind control, so he can't escape it either. I mean, yeah, basically.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay.
Here, off of that, what would Damien do if he ever became immune to atypicals and got as strong as he wanted? Would he ever be satisfied? No. Specifically and hardly, no.
Yeah.
And that comes back to his core desire to find real connection. And the stronger he becomes, the further and further away from that he gets. I mean, honestly, the best thing that could ever happen to Damien in terms of what he truly wants on the inside would be for him to completely lose his power and never regain it.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing that would ever force him to discover what real connection's like.
Yeah, because he thinks he can, as much as he craves it, he thinks he can just
turn it
force
off.
It.
And,
like that he can kind of like somehow, I can smell Hamilton sing along. That's exactly what I was thinking of, Kevin. You're completely right. Do you guys know Satisfied from Hamilton?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't listened to it?
One of the worst artists on the planet right now.
Jesus. All right. Well, also, it's a great song, and it's about never being satisfied, and I think that that's very much a Damien song. Yes. Yeah. He thinks that he can kind of like force that connection, which is not ever gonna work. Speaking of connection, a question for you that I don't know that I have the answer to. In episode 40, Mark said that Damien tried to squeeze his hand. Was Mark holding his hand because he wanted to, or because Damien wanted him to?
I'm failing to remember what this.
Remember, like when he's unconscious. I mean, this is what's hard about doing stuff like this when it's not a visual medium and you're not actually acting it out. When he's unconscious on the couch, and Mark says, like he was trying to say something, right? Like I think he tried to squeeze my hand. You know, like so that you were like kind of going over to the couch and holding his hand and trying to see if he was going to wake up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So do you think Mark wanted to do that, or was that Damien projecting something onto Mark?
I think Damien was too weak at that point, right?
Yeah, I think probably. But also, I think there's a lot to be said for the number that Damien has done on Mark psychologically. That it's like, yes, that may have been his desire in the moment,
and
but
everybody was worried too. Like, are you wanting to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, even him and Joan have that talk of like, are you doing this because you want to, or because he has control over you?
Right.
And Mark's like, I don't know.
I don't know. And even with Damien being unconscious and maybe not able to wield his power in that moment, it's like he still kind of has a degree of control.
So like, I take back my
well, no,
answer.
I mean, but it
No.
is complicated. Like,
Yeah.
I think in that moment, like, yes, Damien wasn't projecting the desire to have Mark close to him because he was too unconscious to do that. But that just all of the built up sort of gaslighting that Damien has done to Mark is leading to that kind of behavior. Has the process of creating the show made it so you had to abandon certain subplots? If so, have you ever tried to find the ways to circle back to them later? Yes, it has. So many
That's something you've been
subplots.
vocal about to us.
I know, I'm so sorry. Somebody has to hear it. Yes. I will say that Vanessa, Chloe's mother, has like a whole backstory and a whole bunch of stuff that we're gonna hear like a little bit about in episode 45 that's just gonna ultimately bring up more questions than it answers. I'm sorry for that. But she's got a lot of stuff that I've just been like wanting to bring in and just haven't had the space to. There's been some stuff with Frank and with Chloe and with Caleb and Adam that I've wanted to do that I haven't done. As for whether or not we will get to these stories, yes, we will at some point. Because part of the great thing about adapting it for TV is that there's a lot more space in the narrative to do that kind of stuff. So some of that stuff is getting repurposed there. And then I've mentioned a couple times on here that there's potential books involved, and some of that stuff will be going through. And then my insane grand plan until the end of 2020 involves some of the things, not necessarily like going back and redoing those things and adding those in, but just sort of like repurposing some stuff that is world-based and less character-based, and sort of, so it'll involve different characters than it did initially, but the world thing will be the same. I don't know if that makes sense, but I can't say much more without spoiling it. But yeah, I've got a massive Evernote and about a 35-page document of like world stuff that just I haven't gotten to use. So there's always more stuff that could be going in there. Let's see. Yes, it should be fun, hopefully.
There's did Damien's parents actually never go looking for him, or is that just what Damien thinks happened? I'm really interested in Damien's backstory, like beforehand.
Me too.
Yeah.
That might be one of those book-shaped things.
All right, fine.
Yeah. No, I am also very interested in Damien's backstory. And it's something I've spent a lot of time thinking about. I'm here for the Burgeoning Bright Sessions Media Empire. Me too, Fred. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that? Do you think his parents ever came looking for him, or?
I mean, I think it would be naive of Damien to think that he was that powerful, that he could have that lasting effect on them. I think this is one of those situations that's possible, like, that he's almost continuing to live in this hell of his own doing. But then again, I don't know. If I was to make a guess, I don't know.
Well, no, I think you're right. I think Damien knows he's not powerful enough to make somebody go away forever.
But maybe he almost doesn't want to admit that to himself.
Well, but I think because the admission leads to like, oh, the thing wore off and they didn't come back anyway. Yeah. Like that's what happened. I don't think that they came looking. I think they think about it sometimes.
Oh, you really let us know there. That's it. Sorry, Damien.
No, I mean like.
That's sad. That's super sad.
Yeah, that's one of those other like sort of subplotty things that, well, that you and I have talked about to a degree with.
How does it?
I'm learning all the things.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about the possibility of that.
Yeah.
So it's always in my mind, but
which is super interesting.
Which would be so interesting.
And I'm so glad that everyone's like, what was just whispered?
You're so evil to these guys. Not to me, but I didn't know what you guys said. Like,
well, because I don't know that if it's gonna come up or not.
I know.
because I still
don't
want
wanna-
to kind of have that in my back pocket. There's some things I don't want to reveal, but the fact that his parents didn't come looking is something that, like, I think in deep down, he knows that they didn't come looking for him, because I don't think that they were ever necessarily great parents to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, at the same token, like, how could they be?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
if put yourself in the shoes of those parents, like, how can you possibly be the parent that this kid needs when the kid has mind control?
Right. Well, and particularly when you have a 13-year-old saying, like, you know, leave me alone, and you want to do it, like, you know, the line of that logic is potentially really scary, because it's like teenagers can be vulnerable people.
It's like teenagers can be way more vulgar than that.
Yeah, and it's
imagine if something worse was said.
Right.
Imagine if, like, jump off a cliff was said.
Right. And it's not like Damien has to just say something to make it so. He does have to want it. But it's like when
True.
you're 15 and you hate your parents, it's like he might have actually wanted that, given the kind of vulnerable personality he is.
Yeah.
And it's like, so in some ways, I think they were kind of protecting themselves.
Yeah,
Andrew was
they wanted to
also
tell the
having
secret
their own
about
conversation.
you.
Well, he doesn't know the secret. Andrew doesn't know.
But maybe I have a secret about you two that they don't get. They get to know. And
Yeah,
you guys
you go for it.
I don't have any secrets though. So for them,
no.
So that's how that goes.
That's how that goes.
Just saying. Oh, great! Now there's more secrets.
What are you telling them? He's punishing himself for driving his parents away to some degree, maybe. Yeah, I think if anybody's punishing themselves for what they did to their parents, it's Sam. But I do think that Damien, as he's wanting to get this connection, moves through life, assuming that everybody's going to leave him at some point. Is that part of him changing his name? Does he actually want to be found? That's a great question. So he never actually, like, necessarily legally changed his name. So if his parents were gonna, like, go looking for Robert Gorham, they probably could find him.
I don't know. Could they?
Well, they could find.
His name is.
That's
never
true.
On
his name's
anything.
not on anything.
He doesn't have ID. He doesn't leave a paper trail
That's
anywhere.
true. Yeah, they could find him. They could find up to where he was when he was 18, because he got some, as we learned in episode 42, he got, like, speeding tickets. He wasn't, you know, he had. He wouldn't have ever gotten a driver's license, but I think he probably had a passport or something that he was using. Because he probably went, you know, traveling with his parents when he was a kid. So he had a form of identification and was kind of processed, because he wasn't really good at his power yet. And I think I know that when he was like 18, 19, he cast off Robert Gorham and took up the name Damien, kind of in this party phase that he was having. And somebody asked why he chose that name. And I'm trying to think of it was not his decision alone. I will say that much. He didn't just, like, wake up and Damien, like, I'm gonna go by Damien. It was a group effort, sort of. I'll tell you guys later. Yeah, it has to sort of do with one of the lines in the episode that we just recorded.
Oh, okay.
About being 19.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll explain later.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's pick another question.
Yeah, if you guys have more questions,
yeah, please
type them. Get these things working.
Yes, please ask questions. Teflon Cooper Private Eye. Is that the name of Anna's YouTube detective? I think it is. Yes, yeah. Teflon Cooper could find them. Or could help them find
on
him.
that note, I like this one.
Yeah.
How scared is Damien that Sam has the ability to figure him out?
Yes, I was fascinated by this question. I think Troy's in the chat. Figure him out in what sense?
Yeah.
Well,
because
Sam can travel back in time and basically find anything out about it.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Oh no.
We'll talk later.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Sam has the ability. Is Damien ever scared that Sam has the ability to figure him out? I don't think Damien's thought about it that much. What do you?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, if you were to spend a little more time thinking about it, I don't know. I think it might rub him a little bit the wrong way, but it again, it's the type of thing that pushes closer towards him being able to have a connection to someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this person can figure me out. and I don't know. I think in the right situation, that could be a very positive thing for Damien, and in the wrong situation, that could be a very negative thing, because you could feel almost like an attack, like I'm being figured out. That never necessarily feels good.
Yeah.
That can feel very invasive a lot of the time too. Charlie, do you actually type like this? Yes, I type like this all day long.
It takes very long.
It's a really arduous process.
I just like to pretend like I'm playing a pipe organ.
Yeah, just all the time.
Charlie, is that how you play a pipe organ? Is that
How often are you playing a pipe organ?
I've never played a pipe organ, but I imagine it was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that that Sam scares Damien in the broader sense. I think that they scare each other. Because they're sort of on like the opposite sides of this weird conflict. And they're very similar. And I think that like they have a lot of similarities and sort of parallels in their lives and what they've experienced and how they both isolate themselves. They both assume everybody's going to leave.
It's such an interesting dichotomy, because one embodies the ability to understand people and one embodies the ability to control people.
Right. And so it's like in some ways, like it's not a dynamic that we've explored at all in the show yet. And in some ways it's like Sam is maybe one of the few people who could actually understand him, but she's immediately, she met him and punched him in the face. Like they're starting at such a rough point.
Yeah,
and he, in the way that he wants to control everything in his life, wants Mark to himself. And so it's like they're two people that, like, if they met under completely different circumstances, probably could have been friends, but did not meet under different circumstances. So yeah, it's a dynamic I think a lot about. Because I would love to act with Charlie more, and we haven't really gotten to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's so weird to think about.
Yeah, no, it's really weird to think about because I'm always here.
You're always here.
I'm always looking at you while you act. Surprising, yeah. There's another one in here. Any quick teaser for the episode comes out this Wednesday? Yeah, I can just tell you what it's about.
Tell you everything. Here you go.
No, I can't tell you kind of the basics of it because it's a very standard Caleb Dr. Bright episode. That's what I'll say. It's not. The 43 and 44 are kind of return to form, if you will, before we enter a 7-episode stretch that's very out of form, culminating at episode 50, which is extremely out of form, which I'm excited about, and you can't know anything about, but it's going to be great. But yes, 43 and 44 are kind of therapy episodes, and 43 will involve Caleb. So that's the teaser for that. We've got about 8 minutes left on this.
Are there any more Patreon questions?
Oh, we can check. You guys can put that. Oh, yeah, I think there are new comments. My thing's being slow. Come on. No, okay, actually, maybe not. I lied. There's nothing there. I don't think. We know they were scared of his ability, but bisexuality also a factor in their strained relationship. Did Mark even get to come out to them? No, he did not. They kind of had their falling out before Mark came out to them as bisexual. Yeah, because he was 19.
But
and so
did the mom and pop Bryant have issues with that?
No, I don't think they would have had a problem with it. But it literally just never.
I'm pretty sure you've been asked this, but has there ever been a thing that you thought about introducing into the storyline? Someone who does have a problem with it?
I have been asked about this.
With sexuality?
Yes.
I answered it before with the fact that most of the characters are not. That's not what their thing is about.
Yeah. I have thought about it, and I think instead of introducing like a homophobic or a biphobic character into things, well, first of all, I think it's sort of like coming out stories and homophobia stories have been told many, many times, and they've been told very well, and I just didn't feel like I had anything new or interesting to add to that narrative, so I didn't. And also I wanted to create a world in which like people weren't having to put up with homophobic and biphobic assholes all the time. But I have put that in a little bit in the way that queer characters react to certain things. So like when Sam is kind of coming at Mark for like, do you have feelings for him? And he's like, oh, it's so disgusting that I can be attracted to both genders. She's like, no, that's not it. But that's such a like normal reaction for a bisexual person to have, because that is something that like, you know, they encounter in their lives, that's his knee-jerk reaction because he has experienced biphobia in his life and homophobia in his life. And there's a similar interaction with Adam in episode 47 where he kind of has a knee-jerk reaction to somebody asking about him and Caleb in a way that's sort of like, oh, like, yeah, do you have a problem with that? And the person's like, no. But it's clear that like Adam is on the defensive. So it's less about introducing homophobic characters and more about like peppering in that, like, yes, these people do experience homophobia sometimes because that is a thing that exists even in my fantasy world. But yeah, it's just not something I wanted to spend a lot of time doing. So yeah, I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
No, I think Mark's parents would have been fine with it. I just don't think it came up because he wasn't seriously dating anybody at that point, and they were not the kind of family that talked about their dating lives, to the surprise of probably nobody. But yeah, it was really the ability thing that was the sticking point for them. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna. What is Damien planning to do for Thanksgiving? See, that's the stuff I love. I want to know what he is doing.
What is he doing for
Are
Thanksgiving?
we talking like in the real world calendar or in the?
So in the show right now it's January, but and
right.
last Thanksgiving, the most recent Thanksgiving in the show would have been Thanksgiving of 2016, and he would have been at the AM.
I was at the AM.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
he would have been at the AM for Thanksgiving. What would Damien do for that? What has Damien? I think Damien probably, he spends the majority of his holidays at bars. I think. I don't know that he goes there. He doesn't go to there to drink necessarily. Like he might have one drink, but I think he just goes there because that's where like sad people go on the holidays. They like go to a bar by themselves. No offense if anybody likes doing that. Like,
I feel like there's a lot of Damien that's like trying to go through the motions of what he thinks he should be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of like, oh, I'm like the sad emo guy. I might
Yeah.
as well
So
go to a
internally,
bar.
he's like, I'm sad. I'll go alone to a bar and sit in the corner and pout.
Well, it's like, are you ever like really upset and you listen to sad music to make yourself sadder?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's that. It's like, it's that thing that he does a lot, I think. Sorry, bud. When you first started, did you have this grand story in mind, or was it supposed to be just a compilation of therapy stories with many more characters with different abilities? I don't know that I did not have everything worked out, but I definitely had this story of Dr. Bright and Mark and kind of that thing worked out in the sense of like her trying to save her brother. And I knew I wanted to zero in on a couple of characters. I know a lot of people who listen like want more like characters and more therapy sessions with different people with different abilities, but I get so attached to the characters that I'm writing that I just want to go like deep into their lives rather than making the world
too. I think it's better to go deeper in the story than wide in the
shallow.
story.
Yeah,
It's also
I think so.
overwhelming for you and all the, because didn't you have a book of like all possible?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not spoiling.
No.
You have a book of like all possible like atypical powers, right? I think that's awesome. But that's got to be overwhelming because like how do you choose?
Well, and it's like all of the 9 episodes that we'll do if we get to 1,000 patrons by the end of the year. Tell your friends. Are the 9 other patients that Dr. Bright has, and those people all have like sort of the broad sketches of abilities and backstories and stuff. So those people have always existed. But instead of bringing them in, I decided to make it more about these characters involved. Yes, we're coming down to the wire. Thank you so much for watching. And yes, we are trying to get to 1,000 supporters by the end of the year so we can do these extra 9 episodes. So if you have a friend who's like been on the fence, tell them how much fun this is. You get to hear us ramble on about stuff and hopefully answer your questions. If anybody has any final questions, is there anything in here that you guys particularly wanted to answer?
I think we hit most.
I think we got the big ones. Yeah. So thank you, Charlie, for doing this so last minute. Thank you guys for tuning in so last minute. How about a wiki for atypicals then? We do have a wiki on FanWiki, and there's some class stuff in there in terms of like the class of atypicals, but yes, someday that would be cool to do. X-Men is there for us when it comes to wide and shallow. I mean, that's fair. Oh my god, someone's name is Albus Severus. That's amazing. I love the Great Child. It's really fun. Yes. So thank you, Charlie, for everything that you contributed to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck in Canada. We'll get you that Canada goose.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren's mom.
Thanks,
Send me
Mom.
that.
All right. Thank you guys so much for everything and for supporting us. We really, really appreciate it. Anything you guys want to promote? You talked about Tarnum and Pure already, right? Do you want to?
I didn't talk about Tarnum.
Oh, you didn't talk about Tarnum.
No.
Okay, talk about Tarnum.
So, Tarnum is a podcast that I've been developing. It's science fiction. It takes place on Mars. And that is still going. For those people who've been stopping by my design live streams on YouTube.
Apparently you sing to them sometimes. I've heard through the grapevine.
Yo, I was testing my audio one time, and I was just like, I just started like singing a little bit because I didn't think I was on, and then it was like I was totally live.
No, they love it. They love it.
It's great. But yeah, we'll see that will be impacted by this new Montreal venture. That being said, it won't stop. It'll probably take some time to hark on forward with it, though. Is that a word?
Yeah, hark.
It is now.
Hark on. What's that mean?
Hark upon.
Hark upon?
Yeah, you hark upon something.
You hark upon something.
At my
so
college, we hark upon the
It's
gale.
being harked upon. Yeah.
Yeah, so follow that at Tarnum Podcast on Twitter.
God, I don't even know, Lauren.
I try to help you guys, and then
She tries that. I don't even know the handle.
I think it's at Tarnum Podcast.
At
No, I'm sorry, Tarnum Official.
Tarnum Official. Terrible.
Yes. So Tarnum Official and at Pure the Series, at Andrew Nowak, at Charlie Frail, right? Are you at Charlie Ian?
At Charlie Ian here, I think. Maybe.
This is all crumbling, guys.
It's been a very long afternoon, you guys.
So many emotions.
So many emotions. We recorded 25 pages of content.
Hashtag help Charlie 2K17.
Hashtag help all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We're gonna wrap up and go get some drinks.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in and asking questions. You're all amazing. And we will see you in December. Oh, if you live in Seattle or go to Seattle regularly, PodCon, December 9th and 10th. I will be there with Julia and Brigham and Anna. We're gonna do a Q&A just like this. It's gonna be so much fun. There are gonna be so many cool podcast people there. So come to PodCon. If you use the code Bright Sessions at checkout, you'll get 10% off. So rock on. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And as always, stay strange. Bye, you guys.
Bye, guys. Thank
Let me
you.
see if I can end this.
Awkwardly as we.
Yep.